When I start drawing in my shape, I'm going to think about the forms that I've already learned. This still life is very much like one tall cone and part of a second cone on the top. So I am filling in those shapes. Then I'm going to start adding in the details, such as the lid, how the lip does the curve, or how the handle attaches to the container. Notice that I put in just kind of big general shapes first. Then once I have the placement of everything, that's when I started to go through and add in more details or fix and correct things. I would never start shading until I had all of these details in accurately. In fact, I really shouldn't even draw in the details such as how the handle curves until I've done everything else accurately. Once I am ready to start shading, I'm just kind of focusing on putting in my darkest values first because it's easy to map in those dark values. I went ahead and did the top of the lid because I knew that it was going to be significantly darker than everything on the actual container of this pitcher. The handle will also be true for that. Notice though, before I started the handle, I started putting in some of the shadows on the edge, and then I kind of changed my mind. It's okay to start in an area and decide, you know what? I think I should be working in this other area instead. There's nothing wrong with that. Then I decided to jump over to the handle and work on that handle a little bit more. I'm not only focusing on my value placement, but how values morph and transition into another value. Another thing to notice while I'm drawing is that a lot of times you'll see me turn or rotate my paper. This just allows me to get a better angle on something that I need to get in my shading. And although this video is being sped up, a couple other things I want you to notice. I'm taking my time to make sure that my pencil strokes are not streaky. I am even laying in base values like I did at this point in time. From here, I go through and say this gets darker, this area is lighter. I am not just relying on the basics of how a cone is created, but I am using my ability of observation. I'm adding in my reflected highlights that I'm noticing. I sometimes shade something and then come back to it 10 minutes later and add more value to it. Just because I shaded it on my first attempt does not mean that I automatically got it correct. Also, please notice my edges. All of the edges are super crisp and clean, but they are not outlined. Outlining is not how we tell our viewers that an object starts and stops. Same for the shadow. I want the shadow to be nice, crisp, and clean where it meets the object. However, because the shadow becomes fuzzy as it gets further away, it's okay if it does become a little bit more out of focus. These are all different things to think about as you start working on this project. And please do not forget to put in your cast shadow because that is the number one thing that will make your item that you are drawing feel three-dimensional and pop off of the surface.